All those present in the chamber, as well as members and staff throughout the Capitol, and all who love John Lewis wherever you are, rise in a moment of silence in remembrance of the conscience of the Congress, the Honorable John Lewis.
The Honorable John Lewis, indeed, an emotional moment on Capitol Hill yesterday as the lawmakers honored the life and legacy of the great John Lewis, known as the conscience of Congress, as you heard Nancy Pelosi say. Before his more than 3 decades in Congress, Lewis served as an Atlanta council member alongside future mayor, that's Bill Campbell. The two became lifelong friends, and only on CBS this morning, Bill Campbell joins us now from Atlanta to talk about the civil rights icon. Good morning to you, Mr. Mayor. I'm so sorry it's under these circumstances, but I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
We were thinking about, listen, the country has lost a hero, they've lost a leader, but you have lost a friend. You called him your nearest and dearest, as a matter of fact, and I know that you got to spend time with him during these final moments. Can you talk to us about your final visits?
John's diagnosis with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, we both knew that it was a death sentence. It disproportionately affects African Americans. My mother died of it. And so I visited John a number of times in the last week before his death. It was striking that the last conversations that we had were about his commitment to voting. He was so concerned that the country vote in November. In fact, his last cogent words to me were, "This is the most important election of our lifetime, and we must all go and vote." And I think that speaks about what he considered to be fundamental and important and what he spent his entire life fighting for.
Yeah, but you had a touching moment. I was reading that you two talked, you embraced, you kissed him on his forehead.
Well,
I thought that was so sweet.
John has been one of the most important figures in history, but also one of the most meaningful people that I've ever met in my life. And these moments where we spent at the very end of his life were so important for me. I wanted to express my appreciation and my love for this great man, but also to tell him how much he had meant to me. And death was imminent. We both knew that. But we somehow found peace in his transition, in knowing what he had meant to America and what he had meant to me and my family. Such an extraordinary man who rose from such humble roots, abject poverty in rural Alabama, and yet he rose to be one of the most powerful and beloved figures in the 20th century. It's a great story for everyone who doubts whether they can achieve and wants to overcome. They always underappreciated and I think never really gave John his due because he was such a small, unassuming man, but what a powerful impact he had on our lives.
That's what I feel too, that he was so, that I wonder if he knew how much people loved and cared about him. I wonder if he was able to take all of that in. Do you think he was?
Gail, I'm certain that he was. I spent a lot of time with John in different places around the country, and everywhere John Lewis went, without bodyguards, without staff, people flocked to him, and it was so heartwarming for me because I knew what he had done in his life, and it was so wonderful to see people touch him and love him and express that to him, and it was just, I think, the most remarkable journey, John's life and his life story. You know, I've said often, and it's not hyperbole, Gail, that when I met John Lewis as a young lawyer from Duke, your son's alma mater, I thought it was a transcendent experience. It was like meeting the great figures of history, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, the people that wrote the Declaration of Independence. And here I was meeting someone who had made America bend and live up to those noble words. John Lewis, C.T. Vivian, another lion that we just lost, or Andy Young, Dr. King. It was a remarkable life, and I was privileged to be able to live alongside of him.
You know what struck me too about him, I'd called to check on him last week, and Oprah and I did, and Michael said, you all should talk to him. He'd love to talk to you on the phone. We were like, no, we can't. And we talked to him on the phone last Saturday, and Oprah was saying, you've been such a blessing in my life. And he said to her, no, Oprah, you've been a blessing in mine. And we both just had a moment with that, because even at the end, Bill, even at the end, he's thinking about others and trying to uplift others. I just thought that was so extraordinary.
Well, think about this, Gail. John used his last public appearance in life to go and stand in the Black Lives Matter Plaza. He had been told that the cancer had ravaged his body. He did not have long to live, and yet he was able to get up and go and stand in that plaza to express to the young people of America how powerful their voices had been and the changes that they had made in America, which he had fought for his entire life. And I think when you look at John's life and his life arc, and you see that it was always about making America better, he had this incorruptible integrity, like a halo, and it just made all of us better who knew him. And your phone call and Oprah's phone call and Speaker Pelosi and President Obama and Vice President Biden, the Winans sang to John over the phone. It just made his last moments special. Yes, it was.
And we keep hearing that he loves, Hillary Clinton was saying, we all know that he was joyful. He loved the song Happy by Pharrell. You two must have had some playful moments that were unique to just the two of you. Do you have an anecdote about that?
Yes, of course. First of all, we shared an office for 5 years.
And then we got to go, yes.
John Lewis only learned to drive in his 70s. And the first time he wanted to show me that he could drive, he ran through a stop sign. And I said, John, what happened? He said, oh, I didn't even recognize it was there. So he was just such a wonderful human being to be around, and we will miss him a great deal.
We really will. He made us all so happy. We thank you, Mayor Bill Campbell, for joining us. Really good to see you. I'm sorry it's this way.